China is firing back at the U.S. this morning. The Chinese state media saying, in its words, it's going to outlast America in a trade war, and it will emerge stronger. This comes after the U.S. announced tariffs on an additional $200 billion worth of Chinese goods, and China retaliated with tariffs on $60 billion. U.S. goods is a big piece in the journal today that we're not exactly sure what victory looks like in terms of what we want China to actually do. President Trump's ready to do almost a scorched earth policy. That's a bad word to use in terms of when we're dealing with a nuclear power, but in terms of economic terms, he's ready to go to the mat. 550 billion, 25% tariffs. What do we want? I think
that's been the complaint.
But I think it's clear what we want. We want them to stop stealing, and we want them to stop.
We want a lot of things.
Right.
We want American companies to be able to own their own companies there. But even when we spoke with Wilbur Ross yesterday, some of those things he kind of couched as we'd like to get to that point. But what is the real demand? And I think that's been the Chinese side's complaint, is when they thought they understood what it was in some of these early talks, they were kind of thrown back on their heels when it looked like there was more. They thought they had a deal, and they didn't.
I mean, I was watching commentary yesterday in different networks, different circles, and they were sort of saying that President Trump was naive because he didn't understand that they're asking China to change their economic model. Well, which is stealing, and which is making partners, give over technology.
That's a huge advantage of breaking away. That's a huge advantage of breaking away from what was the status quo, and having someone who came in as an outsider and really looked at this and said, "Okay, this doesn't make sense."
They were basically saying that, well, China's never going to do that. We've got to let them continue to steal. I mean, who are we to think? Well, that by definition. You don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face, obviously, but I think we know in the big picture that that's not a sustainable.
Way, China may be more open to the idea of intellectual property protections at this point because it's starting to get some of its own intellectual property. How it got there to that point, but they may be more open to having those discussions at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to develop a lot of stuff independently of us.
Yeah.
What do you think, Charles? You're here. You want to weigh in on any of this, or?
Most people wouldn't argue with the president's goals regarding reforming China and having them change their social, cultural, economic policies. It's the tactics that I think people sometimes object to. And my feeling is that what's unclear for markets is how long, the duration, the intensity, the scope of this trade conflict will be. A lot of people think it's going to be, after the midterm elections, China will think the president will reevaluate if he loses the House. I don't think so. Not this president.
Right.
He'll stick in the heels. Some think it'll be after the G20 at the end of November.
Which would be the first time the two of them could actually meet.
Right.
And potentially deflate the situation a little
Perhaps,
bit.
but they're so far apart on intellectual property, on the issue of, allowing, as you said, companies to be owned by.
But I think the G20 is the place where you might actually see a personal relationship kind of.
Markets are implying that.
Yeah, let's hope.
But if it doesn't go that way, and it ends up being like Jack Ma suggested.
20 years.
20 or even 5 years. Yeah. That's not discounted in financial markets right now.
No.